Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Heritage Board meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Do we have any declarations of conflicts today? Great. Seeing none, can I get an approval of the agenda? Okay, moved by Councillor Beck and seconded by Kenny McGuinness. Any business, adoption of the minutes from last week. Moved by Tara and seconded by Sharon. All those in favor? Wonderful. Any business arising from those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we can move right on to our discussions, and we just have one item today, and it's 10 Prince Street, and I will, it's a discussion regarding a potential temporary designation, and I'll just turn that over to Todd. I know we've already heard the report, so it's just a matter of her reviewing it so we can follow proper procedure. Okay, over to you.
Okay, so we did discuss this at the August meeting, where the board made a recommendation to council. So it's back today for a staff recommendation to Heritage Board. The property is on the corner of Prince and Water Street in the downtown mixed-use neighborhood zone. The building was occupied as a single-family residence until at least the 1950s, but from 1976 to the present has been occupied by various commercial businesses. It's a simple Victorian style with a gable L configuration that supports both streetscapes and the heritage character of the area. Records do not reveal the exact age of the house, but its style is consistent with that of a typical home built around 1900. The property is not a designated heritage resource, but it is located in the 500 lot area. And the city has received an application for development of the site, which will be reviewed under the zoning and development bylaw, which has special provisions for development in the 500 lot area. And the proposal will be subject to the design review process. If the proposed development were to be approved, it would involve the demolition or removal of the existing building. The demolition is an as of right under the zoning and development bylaw. The building appears to be in reasonable condition and fits the scale of the area. It's simple in form, addresses the corner, and has a traditional gable end facade. It's not an elaborate architectural style of the period, but instead speaks to a simple single-family residence. The building exhibits some unique characteristics, such as the scallop shingle patterning at the course line and gable, a stained glass window, and a side veranda. The 1878 panoramic view shows what appears to be a smaller house on the property, and unless the house was renovated and added to, it appears that the current building was constructed later than 1878. A 1.5-story wood frame dwelling appears on the Godes Fire Insurance map of 1903, updated to 1917, with a similar footprint indicating that the current building probably dates to at least pre-1917. The area surrounding the site has seen some transformation in recent years with the development of both a 3-story and a 4-story condo development on the waterfront. In addition to Founders Hall, the area is dominated by simple wood frame housing. The 500 lot area development standards and design guidelines identify key civic elements in the 500 lot downtown area and refer to the area as the heart and soul of the city. And more than any other neighborhood in the city, if not the province, the 500 lot area is a broadly treasured and shared amenity. The Heritage Building Evaluation Score of the building is 63, which falls about midpoint for eligibility for designation, which is between 40 and 100. The evaluation criterion is only one factor to be considered. The proposed development will be reviewed under the zoning development bylaw regulations and does not fall under the purview of the Heritage Board. It is a 4-story building with a commercial unit on the ground floor, a residential unit on the second floor, and a second residential unit occupying the upper 2 floors. The staff of the Planning and Heritage Department recommends that Heritage Board request council that a temporary designation be placed on 10 Prince Street.
Thank you, Todd. And I just would point out to the committee as well, one of the things I think we were remiss in mentioning is that in our heritage bylaw, which was amended in 2019, there is a section in there, I don't remember the exact number, but I'm sure Donna or Todd could say the exact number, where it does empower the heritage officer to ask council and the heritage board to put a 45-day designation on any property in the 500 lot area. So if there's no additional information, Todd, that I need to add to that, I just wanted to point that out. There was a lot of questions around, why are we doing this? This is, as far as we know, it's never been asked of us before, but it's only because it's been a change to the bylaw in 2019. So I just wanted to kind of give that additional information, and if you have any questions for myself or for our heritage officer, I'll do my best to answer. And we also have the applicant here, and I do believe that they are permitted, his hand is up, is that right? Yeah, I think that's permitted in our zoning and development and procedural bylaw? Yep, it is, so, okay. First of all, we'll start with committee. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
So thank you, and I'm glad we're visiting this again. I guess I understand that prior to purchase, and it might be more for Todd to answer the question, that there was exploration done with the property owner to kind of look into whether or not there was any designation on this property to make sure that before he purchased the property or they purchased the property that, you know, they had all the information, which is more than I would do when purchasing a property prior to becoming part of this committee, because I wouldn't even think to do that. But was told no at the time before purchase, and then proceeded to purchase the property with the understanding that there was no roadblocks that he was going to face in the process at that time. So I guess I want clarification if that's accurate information, first of all.
Well, as the chair mentioned, this provision is in the 2018 bylaw. 2013, we actually brought in the 500 lot standards at that time, and demolitions weren't allowed anywhere in the 500 lot area. So since it was tightened in 2013, and then, if you will, loosened a little bit by 2018.
When was the property purchased? Prior to the new bylaw? So it was prior under the old rules. So would have assumed that he was not allowed to demolish it?
You want to go up to the mic?
He purchased it after 2013, so it was after the fact that you were allowed to demolish. But the only question he would have put forward or verified was whether or not it was designated, that's all, prior to move forward with the purchase.
Okay, so when he purchased it, he understood that there was no designation and he'd be able to demolish it as of right and do some work.
I believe, I wasn't there, but I believe Todd explained that yes, but no, it has to go through a design review process before they would approve the demolition. You had to do a demolition permit, but it was not designated. Does that make sense?
So I think so. What you're telling me is it would still have to come to a design review board with us accepting what they're going to put in place of the building.
That's right.
But it's not. So I'm struggling, I guess, a little bit with that. When you purchase a property, and I appreciate that this is a beautiful heritage property, and I think maybe we have to start to look again and maybe do another review of what properties could qualify for that. But I really struggle with putting a designated heritage on a property that a property owner purchased with no, when he asked clearly what the question was at the time. Laurel, maybe you have different clarification, but to me, to put a designation on a property when the question was asked, if he was told no, to do it now, I'm struggling with that. I won't be able to support that.
Go ahead, Laurel.
Just one thing I want to note, when it comes to speaking to clients and giving, when they're purchasing properties, we don't do that. There may be casual conversations, but we always tell a property owner that if they want clarification on a property and they want to be confirmed that the zoning allows for specific things, they're required to submit a zoning inquiry to the city, and the city would fill that out, and that's generally through their law firm when they purchase the property. Another thing I might want to mention is that the property, although it's scored mid-range for, as the building in itself, and Todd could speak to this, but it's scored at the highest point for its placement on the streetscape. So the 500 lot area just isn't about the buildings themselves, sorry, I'm just fighting a bit of a cold, building themselves. It's also about how those buildings fit into the streetscape and the urban fabric and you know, and the importance of those streetscapes overall. So those are other things that the board has to consider.
Thank you. Go ahead.
If I may, well, first off, want to thank the board in doing your good work and preserving the architectural history and character of the city. And I am very much in favor of historical preservation. I've worked on a number of projects downtown, including Founders Hall, the roof on the City Hall, Thomas Alley House, and St. Dunstan's Rectory, for example. I think, Todd, we worked on it long ago. So I don't want you to think that, you know, I'm in favor of knocking down all these old structures. This came at a request of the building owner. They came to us, they had suggested that it was not designated. They were told it was not designated, and that's why they moved forward with the purchase of the property with an intent to build new. That was their intent. My understanding is that they produced some conceptual drawings by a drafter. They were brought to the city. I don't know if it landed in your hands or Todd's. It was a 3.5-story rectilinear building, wrapped balconies, looks like something that belonged in the French Quarter of New Orleans. It seemed inappropriate at the time. I think the suggestion was put forward that this person engage an architect to come up with a design that met, not only fit within the streetscape, but also met all the zoning requirements, setbacks, height restrictions, and things of that nature, which it did not. Then that gentleman had come to us in December of last year, engaged us to do this work. We produced conceptual site plans and floor plans, shared them with Laurel just to verify that it met all the setback requirements. We explored volumetric modeling. We shared that as well. I think at one point it was suggested that it be passed on to Todd for a review and consult to get her insight. Totally welcome that. That never was received. We finished the drawings, the renderings that are part of this presentation here, submitted it for a design review. That was in May. We didn't get much feedback. I know everybody's busy and a lot of changes with the city for about 3.5 months until we heard from Emily. Emily told us that it was moving forward for design review, was being passed on to a design reviewer. I am also a design reviewer for the city, but no mention of any kind of consult or feedback from the Heritage Department. Then it arrived here, I guess 3 weeks ago, unbeknownst to me and the property owner, that it was being put forward for this potential temporary designation. I understand it's a new thing. It hasn't been done before. Todd can verify that. But it caught him off guard after investing all the time and money into our services to produce a concept. Again, this has to go into design review. It has to be reviewed by a peer architect, has to go back to the design review committee to confirm that it does fit with the streetscape and it's appropriate for the property. But that's the process, which I respect it, but I feel that it's a bit flawed in the amount of time and effort that this gentleman put into this property ultimately to arrive at this point. And perhaps if this does move forward to council and you put the burden on council to make the vote, I'm worried about what it does for other property owners in downtown or potential property purchasers. It would suggest that at any point in time, their property could be blocked for modification or what have you. My request or suggestion would be that you deny this motion. And a suggestion I might put forward is that the Heritage Board be a little more proactive with going after properties and designating them. We already have a scorecard in place. This is a 63, which by average would be below average if it's from 40 to 100. If there was a threshold established, 70, 75, 80, and we advance those property owners to suggest that they designate their property, that would be a more proactive approach versus landing in a situation that we're here in today. That's all I have to say on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurel. I see your hand up. This is Jedi stuff, so we'll move it on to you, because as we said, this 3 weeks ago was the first time that the Heritage Board has reviewed this file, so I'll take that over to you, Laurel. Thank you.
So Robert and I have worked together in many projects over the years, and this isn't a battle of the minds, but my opinion on this is when we originally met in early winter, Robert and I both met in my office and discussed this project, and I did voice my concerns with the bulk and the scale and the mass and its presence on the streetscape and where it was located in the corner and relevance to other buildings in relation. And I said at that time that I felt that it would be a challenge with design review, and that I felt that Heritage Board would more than likely have concerns with the building, and I felt it should be scaled down before it came back either to design review or Heritage Board. So the submission that we did receive is pretty much the original submission that you and I met on in January. So that is my opinion on it, and it's just that I feel that this is a very important piece of the streetscape in Charlottetown, and regardless of what the building scores, I think we really have to put weight into the streetscape.
Respectfully, I'd like to comment on that. So you agree, so it's, you definitely pointed out, and you can see it's bigger than what's there. There's no question. But that's what the design review process is for, to evaluate that. I've done it many times, and often enough, either myself or the architect who's designed it makes modifications for it to be more in kind with the streetscape. What you see before you is at the owner's request. Would I pull it back a little bit? Possibly. It's not my property. We've done our very best to make it work with the existing streetscape. The original concept, if that was up on the board, I think you would be very happy to see what we've come up with. But having said that, that is part of the design review process. That's the next step. The question here is, does the owner, as of right, should he be able to knock down this property so he can move forward with a different development? That's the question as I see it in front of the Heritage Board. The 63 score, I get it. I know there's other aspects, as Laurel pointed out. Its prominence on the corner has a high score there, but has much lower scores in other areas, hence the 63 score. There's another property that was 61 that was designated, but that was put forward by the property owner. They wanted it. They got it. There was another one in Todd's report at 58 that was denied. So the fact that it's quote-unquote below average, however you want to define that, at 70, it doesn't feel like this is the hill to die on, because this is a precedent that will be established if it does move forward to council. So that's just my perspective on it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. If the committee is not comfortable yet to vote, unfortunately, our meeting has to end now. So therefore, if we're not comfortable and we need more time to ask questions, we can certainly look at a deferral and move this meeting to another time when there's more time, because I don't want anyone to be rushed on the decision they're making. But unfortunately, there's another meeting in this building, in this room in 3 minutes. So I'm just going to look to the committee to see if they want to put a resolution on the floor, or whether that resolution is to defer, whether it is to accept staff's recommendation or reject staff's recommendation. So I'm just going to put that out there now and just see what your thoughts are. Over to you, committee. Go ahead, Sharon.
I'm ready to vote to defer and try to get a heritage designation. I don't know what the appropriate.
Okay, so
phrase
what you're saying is you would like to move the resolution to accept staff's recommendation to put a 45-day heritage designation on the property?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we have a resolution on the floor from Sharon Larder to accept staff's recommendation to put a 45-day heritage designation on 10 Prince Street. Do I have somebody to second that motion? Okay, and that's seconded by Tara. Any questions? Okay, question called. All those in favor? And those opposed? Okay, so we have a 5-1 vote to accept staff's recommendation that this will move on to council for council's decision on whether or not the 45-day heritage designation will be put onto 10 Prince Street. Okay, thank you, everybody. And any new business? No introduction of new business, so I can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, moved by Ken McGinnis, seconded by Counselor Beck. All those in favor? Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.